Hi, I'm Emma, and I live in Scotland. I've got 7 children, ranging from 18 down to 10 months. And we've always home educated. My eldest is now at university, so I've got from the 16-year-old boy down at home, although my 18-year-old is living from at home still. And I'm part of Arise Home Education, and Sharon's with me today as well from Arise. And yeah, it's just really exciting to be with you all and be able to share with you this afternoon. Sharon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Shannon, and along with Emma, we are in Scotland, and I've been here 8 years. I'm, as you can tell, not a local by birth or any by dialect, that's for sure. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and the Pacific Northwest. I've lived here 8 years. I have 2 kids. One is off to uni in the fall, and I have a 14-year-old at home still. We've been home educating. I just did the numbers, 12 years, and have successfully gotten our first child into university using the US model. So we're really excited about that. What else? I love to tutor. I love to teach online. I love helping people learn about how the US model can really unlock learning for your kids and also create a passion and continued love of learning as they hit those teen years and into the university and college years. So that's me.
Should I go next?
Yeah.
I'm Jenny Cassidy, and Helen Harold, you can see there, we run Dumox Learning. So it's great. I'm so happy to get this chance to do something together with the Scottish ladies, because we kind of deal with the other end of after our high school diploma, specifically about getting in exam results for university entrance. I have 7 kids, like Emma, we're in the 7 Kids Club. We've been homeschooling over 20 years, I think it is. And we just have 2 left at homeschooling. They're 14-year-old twins, and we've done the American high school diploma all the way through. We live in Norfolk in England, but we've always done an American program, and successfully, hopefully, the older kids have degrees and you know, in work, and it's all gone as well as we would have hoped, if not better. So yes, great to be able to share with you how what we know, what we've learned.
It seems to be a thing. You don't have to have 7 kids to do a high school diploma.
Just you've got your own school is the thing.
Yeah. So yeah, so Jenny and I, and we've been doing a high school diploma for about 20 years, and yeah, and my kids are 6 of them at university as of September, and just 1 still at home.
Excellent. So I'm going to start off today by just kind of laying a foundation and talking about how to both face and conquer the fears that we have as parents home educating our teenagers at home. All of us who have got teenagers or who are approaching those years, I think universally will be just facing a huge amount of anxiety about doing that, because it is a massive big deal. We have people speaking to us and maybe placing doubts in our mind, and we don't want to fail our kids. We don't want our kids to fail academically. We want them to turn into adults who are going to be able to hold down jobs or go to university or just function in societies in general. And by home educating, we really recognize that we're taking that responsibility on our shoulders. We're not giving it to a school. And I've seen parents through the years, they get to this stage, they've got younger teenagers, and they kind of panic, or the fears that are completely legitimate make them decide to put their kids into high school when their heart and their deepest desire is to not do so. So let me just bring up this presentation and move things about my screen so I can get to the right buttons. So we've earmarked 3 fears, but there'll be everyone will have their own specific fears that they deal with in home educating. So first one is fear of failing. Then I'm afraid I'm not smart enough. I'm afraid of being my kid's only teacher. So the fear of failing, and not so much us failing ourselves, but we're obviously scared of failing our children and failing them as not giving them what they specifically need. The Bible says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I really believe that with every time that we're being really crippled by fear when we're trying to make decisions, our ultimate response is to take that to God in prayer, because God does not want us to be basing our decision making in any area of our life through fear. So taking whatever fears we have to God is always going to be our first response. Excuse me, I've had a cold all week, so I will be coughing a wee bit. The roots of these fears that we have are based in that fear of maybe not being able to get our child into college or university or into the apprenticeship they want, or be able to get a job in the real world. So part of debunking that fear is actually looking at the evidence that comes from other home educators. So today we're talking about using the US model. And by doing high school homeschooling, by going down this route of the high school model, it gives parents and students a whole lot more choice and freedom in their education and in their educational choices. But for us UK families, that can seem, we're so conditioned by the UK or European systems, we think, does that even work? And we're here to tell you this does work. We've got 3 families here who have all had their teenagers get into university with high school diplomas and AP exams where needed. And so this model absolutely works, and more families in the UK are doing this and have got their kids into good quality universities. And the ladies are going to show you how to do it and how to navigate that as Europeans. In the US, more and more colleges are actually actively recruiting home educated students because it's so much bigger in America. It's more well known, and people are actually starting to wake up to the fact that these kids are actually really great students to have. The UK is a little bit further behind in that, but it is changing. You are absolutely starting to see universities and employers are meeting and having more home educated kids come across their paths, and it is changing perceptions. When my daughter went to university last autumn, and we went to visit the university that she ended up choosing, the professors that were in the department that we went to go and see, when they found out she was home educated, they were so excited. They said, we're so glad, it's amazing. And they said she won't need to unlearn all the rubbish that they pick up at high school. So that was a professor at a good quality UK university that said that to us. So the perceptions are changing. We had a conference this spring, and there was a young man came to share with us about his working life experience. He's got a professional job in Scotland, in the business world. I can't remember what field exactly. I think it might be in marketing, but I might be wrong. And he said in his professional working life, people who are above him, bosses, employers, are really excited when they find out he's been home educated, because of the perception that home educators now have in the workplace of being hardworking, good to deal with, being able to work with different age groups of people, and being able to show initiative. One of the things you need to be able to do, though, is to be able to know how to navigate the system as a home educator, because the system is set up for people who have come from schools. And so it's a bit inflexible, but there's ways to navigate this. And this is what we're going to be helping you to learn to do today as part of this workshop, to be able to create that diploma and create your high school transcript so it looks university attractive. I've already mentioned about employment, how that students are self-motivated, they're hardworking, and they make excellent employees. Also, many home educated kids have a natural bent to being entrepreneurial. You see so many home educators, so many ex-home educated kids go in and set up their own businesses, because just the whole culture lends itself to be quite entrepreneurial. So yeah, again, all this, the exams, the diplomas, the transcripts, everything that can feel so overwhelming when you've got a 14-year-old and you've never done it before, you don't know anybody that's done it before, but it's baby steps. You do the thing you need to do, the next thing that you need to do, make your plan, set your vision, and take each step as it comes. You're not having to create a whole high school transcript or have it complete, all the details and every part of it written down today. You set your goal and you take it one step at a time. And it's a journey of faith as much as anything else. Fear 2, that you are not smart enough. Honestly, none of us are. No one parent is going to be able to teach every single subject that their child could possibly want to learn. However, people do. We can testify with the parents here today, with many of that have gone before us, that it is possible. In the United States, there's been 2.6 million homeschoolers who have graduated their kids and got them into colleges. Those 2.6 million parents, they were not going to be experts in every single field. And there's different, and the reasons that they're successful are numerous. Firstly, you learn along with your children. I think anyone that's been home educating for a few years, even with younger children, will know that as parents, we learn so much as well as our kids. Secondly, when our kids are really passionate about something, they will take ownership of that education. I know a family who their son now has a professional job in coding and IT sector, very well paid. His parents are not computer literate. His mother, she had her son set up her email address, and that's her IT knowledge. She can access her emails. She never taught him anything about computers, but he loved it. He got books at the library. He watched courses online. He self-taught himself how to code, got into university on the back of some GCSEs, and worked through up the ranks of the Scottish university system, and ended up with a degree in computer science, and now has this amazing job doing something that he loves and is passionate about. His mum, his dad, they're both, their skills are in literature. That's their skill base, not coding, not computers. So you don't need to be an expert in everything. And that's where online classes come into play, where you can find people that are experts in that field and sign your kids up to those classes. local co-ops and group classes are amazing. I know many of you might be familiar with, for example, Classical Conversations is a prime example of a co-op that can help with the education of your teenagers. Also, quality resources. There's so much resources out there to give your child an outstanding education, even in fields that you do not feel comfortable teaching yourself. It's finding them and accessing them, and just again, one step at a time. If your child wants to be the next Bill Gates and create a world-class operating system, but you don't know, you can just turn on your computer, you don't need to be educating them on the wonders of the most cutting edge programming language today. It's that one step at a time, and not allowing the feeling of overwhelm to cripple you. I'm trying to move the pictures so I can see the slides. You need to know ways to homeschool your high schoolers, earn the necessary qualifications or credits when a subject is not the parent's strength. And fear 3, I'm afraid of being my kid's only teacher, because that's an amazing responsibility. And it's very valid to feel that fear that you're your child's only teacher, because the buck feels like the buck lies with you. If it doesn't go well, it becomes very, very personal, that your child's success is wrapped up with your ability. And that is such a valid point, and it is a real fear and a great worry. Sometimes high schoolers need someone fresh in their life to help teaching. So that's where, again, your co-ops come into play, your community of other home educators, and your ability to access online educators also can help here. Another suggestion is to team teach. Hook up with another family nearby and help each other to teach your high schoolers together. Being careful not to stray into the whole murky world of illegal schools, because you need to be careful. There's laws about that side, but just meeting up once a week in the afternoon, and you doing one subject with their kids and they doing another subject with the kids, is a way that you can bring a different person into their life to just to support each other. That whole idea of the community that helps to educate our kids. Outsourcing. You are everything your child needs. You're the perfect person for your child's education, because you're their parent and you know them and you love your child more than anyone else, and have more. You want them to succeed more than anyone else ever could. But being able to outsource it to people that you trust and that can help fill in the gaps where you don't feel confident is completely and utterly valid. And there's so much, there's great resources out there. Also, there's that part of recognizing as parents ourselves and as home educators, especially when we've been educating from when our kids were very little, our role begins to change more as they turn into high schoolers. I've went personally with boys who've been quite dyslexic to being almost having to be with them with everything, just giving them the confidence, helping them to read and helping them to this point where they're now older, and just almost like a resource manager, and helping, because they've become, we've reached that goal of what we want our kids to do, is being independent learners, and it's like, oh, they don't need me anymore. But that is what we're looking to achieve, to produce these independent learners and helping them to then manage their education and become that accountability for them in their education as they go forward. So I have put together a little prayer journal for you to help navigate these fears so they don't cripple you. They are if you scan that, it'll take you to a landing page where you can download that prayer journal and access this little, just a little journal to help you really find out what fears you have as a parent, pray through them, and hopefully find peace for your journey. And you can download it and print it off numerous times over the years and keep coming back, so that fear of all these fears and whatever specific fears that you may have do not cripple you and stop you in your journey. That if you decide to put your teenager into high school, you're doing it for the very best reasons, because that's the right decision for your family and not because you're fearful. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to pass on to Shannon, who's going to give you a more practical talk.
All right, so thank you, Emma. And all those things are so important when we're building that strong foundation. Those are the really key things, irregardless of the age of your kids, but especially with the high schoolers. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to talk a little bit about this whole model of high school and the U.S. high school transcript model and that bit. So let's just go ahead and just jump right in. There's a couple things you want to think about, and in these planning stages and when you're considering your options and that kind of thing, there's actually 3 things you want to do in order to kind of cast this vision of setting a path for this journey you're on. You do want to cast a vision. You want to capture in words just what the vision is for your teens, both yours and theirs. And the other thing you want to do is you want to build character. As you're pulling things together, you want to choose things that are going to help build character. You want to expose your kids to role models in reading and in life that provide opportunities for them to build character, and also you want to provide opportunities for them to serve, so that they can begin acting out those qualities of character you're instilling in them. And the other thing you want to be considering is that ever popular social skills that everybody asks us about as home educators, but also this idea of etiquette and how you want your kids to handle themselves in different situations. So creating opportunities to learn how to handle themselves, as well as other opportunities to practice at greater independence in how to handle themselves in certain situations, or in just daily life situations, getting on the bus, riding the train, going on all different kinds of things like that. So when you're talking about this vision for the high school years, you want to base it on your teens' vision as well as yours, and where you're going to build in rigor and how you're going to do that. And that really, it depends on that student and their goals and passions, and as well as the parents and families' desires for their kids. So, and the biggest pro tip here is, if you involve your team, they will take more ownership, and they will be highly motivated, far more motivated to pursue things, especially if sometimes when they're undecided, there's a lot of hesitancy in an undecided state. And as they get more and more refined, they get more and more passionate about things. So this slide is basically kind of really, it's going to be quick because I want to move on to the big basics of the U.S. diploma model. But as you're building this foundation and creating this vision and trajectory, there are some questions you want to ask. There's 4 here. That you want to ask your teens, okay? And this is where you want to get them involved. So what are your goals for high school and life? And if they're not sure, then that's where you want to look at maybe some career exploration classes or resources for that. The second question is, what do you dream about? And what do you want in life? So those are things where you can build classes, reading choices, experiences, and discussions that help draw out and bring form to those dreams and those desires that they have in life. The third one there is, what are your interests? And that's the key place where you can leverage electives in the US system or extracurricular activities into the transcript, because these are going to be the things that they're going to love to learn more about, all right? And then the last one here is, how do you learn best? Really understanding and coming alongside your student and helping them learn in the best way that's for them. And that's the beauty of home education, is that it doesn't have to be pigeonholed into just a specific way. And there's lots of different ways. There's textbooks, reading, there's logging hours for activities, there's online classes, and there's so many ways. I could go on, but we honestly don't have time. So we're going to do this much of the iceberg of the US model today. So we'll give you a big quick overview. And one of the questions that often comes up is, what about strengths and weaknesses? To find the answers to those questions, you want to look at which courses that might need to be completed at a simpler level because there's maybe some academic struggles, all right? And then also the antithesis of that is, for your university-bound teams, you want to make sure that there are specific subjects that are bolstered so that they are uni-ready and that their transcript is uni-attractive, like Emma mentioned earlier. And you pull that together and you have some good conversations about it. And it does take some time. So I know for us, it's an ongoing conversation. And you want to have a place to keep track of it all, your ideas, your plans, your actually what you end up doing. And we have a planner that you can get at the website. There's the URL for it. If you go to the website, you'll see the Everything Counts planner in the shop, and you can grab it there. Okay, so now the US model in its briefest fashion. In general, these are the courses that should be completed in about 4 years of high school. Some of the courses can be done in 8th grade, but the key here is that they have to be high school level. They cannot be middle school level courses. They don't provide the rigor that is required of a high school course for those younger aged courses. So there's a typical brick and mortar high school is going to offer this type of setup. 4 years of English Lit and Comp, so literature and composition, 2 to 3 years of science, 3 to 4 years of progressively difficult math, and 3 years of social studies. And then there's going to be 1 to 4 years of physical education. And by that, I mean a half a credit a year. And so we'll get into credits in just a minute, really briefly. But basically, you want something every year, some type of activity, but it doesn't necessarily have to be every day to gain a full credit. If they're doing sport and they're actively involved in sports, then they could get those credits. This is a place that they're going to get credits really easily. Then you're going to round out your transcript with electives, and you're going to have a total transcript that, depending on the state you're working with and looking at as your reference point, anywhere between 13 and 24. I am at a place of recommending 24 to 28, depending on what the plan is for the student. 13 is the absolute lowest. You will not get into a UK university with 13 credits. I will tell you that right now. That is California's absolute basic. And so what's really important to hear when you're looking at this is not what gets you into university. This is what gives you proof of education. So let's take a look at that. These are the minimum requirements as proof of education. How you tailor the transcript and choose the courses is going to be based on your university trajectory, your college or vocation or workplace goals and dreams. That's why that other piece becomes so important. So when we're talking about credits, what's a credit? So a credit is basically what you get for a year's worth of work. So it's essentially 120 to 180 hours of coursework at the high school level in a specific subject. And a student is going to do 5 to 6 classes to a year, earn 5 to 6 credits a year. And again, the total minimum is that 13 to 24 credits a year. And again, I can't underscore enough, this is for proof of education. So keep that in mind. And as you build out, if you're looking toward university, how you choose to apply your credits and the classes you choose is what becomes really important. So we talked a little bit about transcripts. So let's define our terms here. So a high school transcript, it's basically a record of your academic accomplishments throughout your high school career. It lists every class taken, when it was taken, and the grade received for the class. And sometimes, especially for a home educator's transcript, you want to have other additional information that's going to cover the standardized tests or any honors that have received awards, that type of thing, in addition to the classes that they took. In the US, every person enrolled in high school has a high school transcript, all right? And it's regularly updated as courses are completed. And so that's the mindset that we need to come into here in the UK, is that you are creating as you go this proof of education. And so I don't know what that's about, so we'll get that off the page there. So that's the key with the record keeping and the planning with the trajectory a little bit. All right, so another piece that's important, and it's a term that gets kind of thrown around a lot, is GPA. So GPA basically stands for the grade point average. When you're giving your students a grade for a class on their coursework, or an overall grade for the year's class or for the year's work, these are how your letter grades turn into a percent, and then how those percents turn into a GPA, which is built on a 4-point scale. And so that's a helpful tool. It's part of that Everything Counts packet that we have for you. So, because even after having gone through the system myself, I still have to refer back to it. All right, the SAT is, again, defining our terms. It's an entrance exam used by most US colleges and universities to make admissions decisions. It's a multiple choice test, and it was created by the College Board. There's lots of test prep places you can go. You register for the test at the College Board, and then there's free things online. There's books, there's boot camps, there's courses. I know that Helen and Jenny have, I believe, a boot camp type of online course as well. And let's see, how's it structured? There's a reading, a writing and language test, and a math test. It's a 3-hour test in 3 parts. Starting this year, it's in a digital format here in the UK, and that is rolling out in the US. Actually, all international places, it is already digital, and it's rolling out this year in the US. You can take the SAT anytime from age 13 on, and the beauty of the SAT is that you can take it as many times as you want or need to get the desired score. You can't super score for most places in the UK, and by that I mean you can't, if you got a really great test on the math section and then turn around and take the English section because maybe it was really low on one of the tests, you can't like pick and choose from the different tests. It's all one together. So that's important to remember. That most places you'll see a term that they don't super score, or sometimes that they do. All right, I'm almost done. That was the lightning speed tour through the US model, just to kind of dip your toe and get you familiar with it. I have created, because there's been so many questions, I finished just last week, I think, creating a self-paced study that parents can go through, gather all the information, refer back to it, and get everything you need, including that Everything Counts planner and a whole bunch of other resources. You can scan that QR code if you're interested in that, or you'll find it over at the Arise homeeducation.com website. All right, so the takeaways are: cast a vision for your teen, with your teen, build a plan for success, and then that review annually and adjust as needed. That's where that record keeping comes in, and just seeing, keeping on the trajectory and changing it as needed. And so that's it for Emma and I. We have put together a little thank you for you guys, so you can grab that here with the QR code, and we'll drop a link in the chat as well as soon as I'm done talking, unless Emma does it. And you can see there's her free download is on that page, the prayer journal that she talked about, and a couple other things, and then a discount code if you would like to see any of the other things we offer over there. All right, I think that is all I have. So let me stop sharing if I can find the right toolbar. Here we go. There we go. All right.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank
think
you, guys.
So much, ladies. That was great.
I think Shannon gives the best explanation. It's very hard to get your head around it, and that was very quick. I've heard a slightly slower one, but I think Shannon gives the best explanation of the high school diploma that I've heard from anyone. And I've heard a few people giving it, and I've given it myself. I think Shannon gives the best explanation of it that I've heard. So that's great. And thanks, Emma. That's just great. It's just so encouraging. We all need to hear it, even us oldies. We need the encouragement.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just going to, so now Helen and I we shouldn't need as much time because ours is, you've done a lot of the explaining for us already. So we'll just do, we have a few slides as well, but it shouldn't take too long, and then we can be open for some questions if you've got any questions.
So I'll just explain why we do it really. So we've done a high school diploma, but then for university entrance in the UK it wasn't enough. So we needed to do something else. So there are some British universities that you can get into with the SAT and with the high school diploma, but quite a lot of them you can't. So it is possible to just do the high school diploma and the SAT or honours courses. But then it sometimes isn't enough. And the universities that my kids wanted to go to, it wasn't enough, which is why we started looking at AP exams. So my oldest kids, we started looking at AP exams, and we started doing AP exams. And the big advantage of them is that they're only 1 year. So they're equivalent to A levels, but they're only 1 year, or they're equivalent to Scottish Highers, but they're only a 1 year exam. So it's a kind of a win-win really, that we already do a curriculum and we follow an American program where we want to be able to continue with that. But if we decided that we need to do A levels for university entrance, then we couldn't have continued with that. There's just not enough space. So A levels are just full on. You're not going to be able to do 3 A levels and some other curriculum as well. So the advantage of the APs is that we were able to continue doing what we wanted to do, which isn't really the exam hoop jumping bit. But we did do the qualifications that we needed. So we started a couple of years ago, and we've just increased our numbers of courses each year. So I think we've got 7 AP courses this next year, and this is just some information about AP exams.
I think just to mention that I think this being a Christian group that we're here with, I think I like to try and encourage people, especially to take the high school diploma route. One reason to take it, one reason of many, is I think as people of faith, we have much more flexibility in what we're teaching our children if we're doing a high school diploma versus the GCSE A-level routes. And I think the APs also, even though they're not obviously Christian exams, they're just run by the College Board, they're just a standard exam. But for example, all our Darmox learning teachers are Christians, and they will all look at the syllabus that they need to present from a Christian perspective. And they will, for example, the English literature, there's a lot of different books you can choose from, and some of them we wouldn't choose our children to read, never mind study. But there is a choice. So, as Christians, we can choose those that we think are most appropriate. So I think, just to mention, I think that the high school diploma and the choice of doing APs and how short they can be compared to an A level, that we have that as parents then more control, I think, over what we are teaching them.
And also I think when we started, that enormous leap of faith when you are embarking on homeschooling, for us, if we could pick the worst time to send our kids back to school, it would be 16. I mean, and if you choose the Scottish Highers route, or you choose the GCSEs, then what a lot of homeschoolers do is that they stop at the 16 bit and their kids go into college for the 16 to 18 bit. And that for us was, I'm sure people have got obviously different views, but personally that was the last thing we wanted to do. We really wanted our kids to be at home till 18. We wanted that time with them. The formation with our children was just so important. And it's been such an enormous blessing having our children at home during those last couple, and they're so nice. I mean, we just can so enjoy their company in those years. And then we're still but they're still very young and very vulnerable. So we really want them to be at home during those times. And you know, A levels or higher are just kind of quite hard. People do them, and some people manage to do them, but it's very difficult to do it at home. And so this was the diploma and the APs was a route that we could do at home, and we could manage to do at home. And this is just kind of information as to how you know what the university is looking for. So so you may not have children that are going to go to university and are aspiring to university, but you still may want to have APs, which is, you know, would get them into a different level of apprenticeship or get them into a different job. So if you've got kids that, you know, want to do those kind of qualifications, if they do want to go to university, then what you need to do is you need to look at, say, Glasgow University or Bristol University, and you look at the international students page. There'll be a section for international students, and then you look at the Americas section, because you're applying for a British university with American qualifications. So you need to look at the USA section of that country. And then we have just some examples here of different universities and what they require. So this is Southampton. So they require 3 APs. The APs are tested between 1 and 5, 5 being the highest. The subject tests don't exist anymore, so that's you can't do those anymore. Yeah, so that's what Southampton want. So they don't mention the diploma at all. Some places do, some places don't. It's Cambridge. These are the highest qualifications. I think they want 5 APs. So you've got to be brainy. You've got to be pretty brainy to go to Cambridge. Nottingham want, we can see they want.
Sorry.
That's right. And then Reading, so they're specifying the high school diploma and the advanced placement tests. So they're just all different. I suppose that's the point we're sort of trying to get across, is that they're all slightly different. Have I got any Scottish universities here? Probably not. So apologies to any Scots there.
We should have done that.
If you're Scottish, you would definitely want to go to a Scottish university because you don't pay fees. So you would certainly want to do that. But like you should really look at the university that you want to go to and see what they want.
Maybe Shannon and Emma, have you done that? Have you seen what's typical of, are they same kind of thing? They expect different things.
Shannon,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Emma.
No, I say you have. You've looked into that.
Yeah, actually I have, and it is one of the things that's on that thank you page. Is we've gone through and looked at the 19 universities in Scotland, and so everybody can pick that up. It's free. We'll send it to you. Just drop your email address in to that, and I'll go ahead and drop that link here for people to that page that went with the QR code. I had forgotten about that in my thing afterwards.
I think we found that there was a similar. Every university was slightly different.
Yeah, they're all a little bit different. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I would also second what Helen and Jenny said, especially if you've got a child who is much more literary based, sending them to high school in those upper high school years. The material that they are presenting in high schools today is awful. It's really defiling. And we did A-level English lit, and I literally spent hours going through every specification, every book list, trying to pick the books that were going to be the most uplifting, the most the least defiling. And because we were looking at doing online courses for A-level English lit, and I couldn't find any Christian online educators doing them, and they were picking the most popular texts that were being used in high schools anyway. And I thought, no. So we navigated ourselves, but as Helen said, A-levels are really, really difficult to do on your own. And all those kind of more literary based subjects in schools, the curriculums are definitely not anything like a Christian worldview. And these are you're talking about teenagers whose minds are they're at that vital stage where their worldview is being informed and developed, and absolutely have a look at the classes. If your child needs these high level AP classes, have a look at what Jenny and Helen have got on offer, because we want our young people to be given a amazing education, but being filled with wonderful ideas that are going to be uplifting and filled with beauty and honor and wisdom, so that to propel them out into their adulthood.
I think a lot of those school type things, it's like you saying, you're navigating away from anything that was harmful. It's like you're trying to stop the thing that's negative that you don't want, but it's like, of course we want to do that, but we want to give them the best too. We want
Yeah.
you know, and even if the AP is pretty kind of neutral, as long as it's not harmful and you've got maybe neutral kind of material, if you're doing a high school diploma and you've just got one AP or two AP courses at the most, you're doing 1 year, then you're really having the flexibility in those other courses that you're doing to really give them the, you know, over the top goodness of what you want them to have, kind of thing.
Or if you're having, for example, the AP course, you know, the AP courses, that you're following the curriculum that's been set out by the exam board. Same if you're doing any GCSE or A level, you have to follow the curriculum that's been put forward. But if the person who's tutoring that class has a Christian worldview, they can temper that material and deliver it in a way which will be more life-giving to the child.
Yeah.
And help them to actually think through these big ideas, which they will have to encounter, but giving them the tools to see, these are the ideas that you're going to be grappling with, and this is how to work through them and think about them in a way which is going to be God-honoring for them.
So just to mention that what we do offer the AP courses, we've got 7 subjects at the moment. Hopefully we'll build to more, and we're doing some SAT prep courses as well, maths at the moment, and hopefully English as well soon, that will just be short courses, 12 or 13 weeks leading up to each. I think it's 3 times a year you can sit a SAT exam. We've got a random IGCSE math that can be used as a credit, high school credit as well. And we've also started an enrichment courses which can be used as like a half credit, or maybe even filled out to a full credit if you wished. That's just briefly, it won't take too long, we're trying to keep it within an hour, but just a few details there about what's included in our AP courses. We've got some great teachers lined up. Yeah, the enrichment courses, we have 4 running that will start at the end of August until Christmas. Debate club, a Lord of the Rings class, chess club, and an icon painting class, or writing I should say. They can all be used for high school credit as well, and we're hoping to have another a set after Christmas too. That's the IGCSE. There's just some pricing to glance at. If anybody wants to put their email addresses in the chat bar, would be great. We have a newsletter that comes out roughly once a month, and maybe less once the classes have all started, just with various information. We'd love to hear from you. Sorry, Helen, was there something I missed?
Yeah, just that we're offering £25 off for the AP classes for anyone to watch this Zoom, so, or anyone that's watching on the recording. So if anyone wants to, if you put a rise in the coupon code, then we'll know that it's come through this video. So if you want to put a rise in the coupon code, and we'll give you $25 off the AP classes.
Pounds or dollars?
Pounds, sorry, pounds. Yeah,
Pounds.
Pounds are better. You get more off.
Yeah, we when we do presentations, I've touched about Christian. A lot of people want to know the course is Christian, but I think we've explained that. We're called dumb ox because that was what St. Thomas Aquinas, the very, very intelligent saint, was referred to as. So that was our subtle way of being Christian without having a Christian title. We're not Christian organised, you know, we're really open to everybody, but it's good to be talking to Christians like us. There hopefully will be more courses in the future, and yes, we mentioned the discount. So I think that's everything, and hopefully, well, we can, if people need to leave at 3 o'clock, we won't be offended if you slip off, but we'll be here for some questions if anybody has some. Either speak them out or type them if you're not able to.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where do you sit the AP classes?
Oh yes.
That's
A good
difficult. So
question.
yeah, it's a good question. So it's difficult. It's been really difficult trying to find a centre. So we have one in the UK at the moment, which is in Harrogate. It's actually quite good for Scottish people. Well, depending on where you live, but Harrogate. Yeah.
Essential for the whole of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Coming from
It's
Scotland or the southeast. It's
yeah.
quite
But we have 2 more. Hopefully, they've sort of looked very promising. So hopefully, have another one in London, another one in Oxford this forthcoming year. So there'll hopefully be 3. So, but that's I would say that's the downside of the AP, is that you have to travel. But I suppose the plus side is it's only 1 exam. So if you're doing an A level, you've got 2, perhaps 3 papers that you have to go and sit. So you only have to sit 1. You have to sit 1 paper for the APs, and it's always the first 2 weeks of May when you sit them. But yeah, you've got to go to Harrogate. We had to go to Harrogate this last year. It's kind of nice charity shops in Harrogate. It's a nice sort of like town, very nice charity shops. But
sounded quite fun because there was a lot of homeschool families there together, and they met up. Maybe we should put an event on for the parents that week or something.
Can I ask you a question, Jenny?
Of course.
It's Emilia here.
Hi, Emilia.
So sorry, maybe it is maybe the answer is obvious, but the courses that you mentioned, is it part of the Arise?
No.
Or no?
No,
Okay.
we're not actually connected at all. Just
Oh, right.
we complement each other, I suppose, because Arise just concentrate on the high school diploma, and we just concentrate on the things that are the APs. I was going to say after a high school diploma, but alongside we're just doing the exam preparation, I suppose. Whereas Shannon and Emma are just the guides for your high school diploma, I guess.
All right. So how can I find the information about what you are doing? Because it's a different website.
Yes, ours is Dumox Learning. I'll put the website link in the chat bar. We also have a Facebook group if you're on Facebook, and an Instagram, LinkedIn, or LinkedIn's under my name, but Facebook and Instagram, we have a page. If you want to follow there, is good as well. And that's the website. Did you put the Arise website in there too, maybe? Oh, you did. Oh, okay. I'm curious to the people that are on here, if you can maybe just put it in the chat, what age your children are. Do you have younger children at high school? Are you just starting high school years, or what stage are people at? What ages are your kids? You could just put your kids' ages maybe.
Could I ask a question?
Oh.
Yes.
Hi, I may have emailed you this question and I may have just forgotten, but in terms of APs and how difficult they are, would it be doable for our children to do certain APs earlier than grade 12 or sort of school leaving age? Did your children do any early? And if so, which ones would be the sort of easiest to do sooner?
Yeah, you can certainly do them earlier. So my son did 2 in grade 12 and 2 grade 11. But my 15-year-old's going to start doing his first one next year, so he's going to do human geography next year. There are certainly some that are easier than others. So human geography is often cited to be one of the easier ones. Economics is also cited to be one of the easier ones. So that you would do, you would choose kind of ones. But you know, if your child's particularly bright, you know, maybe they would do it at sort of 13 or 14. There isn't there isn't a lower age limit. I suppose the other thing I would say is that, so for my some of my kids, because if you're in school, you do lots of public exams, you have lots of experience of doing public exams. So some of mine, they did their first public exam, and it can sometimes be quite an important public exam. They're doing their SAT or their AP, and they're just not, they don't do very well. And it's like the whole, because we're homeschool, we haven't done, you know, the exams at 16, so they sort of, and they don't get the fact that you have to work hard and there's an exam, and then when the person says go, it really is go. It's not just, I don't know, sit around and think you're at home, and it's, you know, so and then you have the thing of getting the results, and then kind of get the results, and they're like, oh, like, and just that whole experience of getting exam results is something which I think, well, I mean, maybe some kids, you know, I have had other families saying the same thing. So we have, so for my 15-year-old, I'm almost doing this one next year as a kind of, you know, a practice of doing an exam before kind of it matters more. So, you know, so that's another thought. But, you know, you might not have kids like mine. Maybe your kids will just work hard and, you know, do it from the get-go. But
okay. And do you think that any APs would be possible to self-teach? Have you done any, because I'm just looking at your range of APs, and there'd be other ones that would be very appealing to do. But do you think it'd be very hard to homeschool prep from AP courses?
Which subjects are you thinking about?
Maybe some foreign languages, Latin. I did languages at university, Russian, German. And we're living overseas, so their Russian is quite strong. I don't know if there'd even be an AP in Russian,
No,
but
there isn't a Russian, sadly. Okay. But yes, I mean, yes. So Latin is something that we did have a teacher for, but we didn't have any sign-ups. So if you were interested in doing, if you're interested in Latin, I think the teacher would certainly be interested. If you were interested in Latin. So yeah, my kids have done some APs by themselves. If you did microeconomics in the following year, my son did macro. We prepared independently for biology. It was really tough, but we did it and he did well. If you look at
you're an economics teacher though, Helen, is that not?
That's true.
I feel like maybe. I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah, I mean, so languages, I mean, so we know a lad last year that did he did French, and he'd done some French classes, but then he did French himself. He had a bit of help from a tutor, but he did some of it. So yeah, I mean, you could, undoubtedly you could. It's like anything really, isn't it? It's like what Emma was saying about that there is, you know, there are lots of classes and things around various subjects. Yes, you undoubtedly could. And you undoubtedly could do a mixture. Khan Academy's got some AP classes, like the whole thing is just on Khan Academy. So you could choose those courses. And so you could certainly do a mixture.
Okay. Thanks.
Jenny, can I share just our experience without doing APs? Because APs are really workable for some families and necessary, especially for highly competitive degrees. You're going to need, you know, those high SAT scores or ACT scores, and you're going to need some APs as an option, most likely. But then not everything is competitive, but some things your kids are going to be really passionate about, and they're going to be driven toward a specific thing. So that's where my daughter falls into things. She has been since primary age passionate about archaeology, and so we tailored her high school years and a large part of her education toward this passion. And she sat SAT scores. She did honors courses. She didn't do any APs because it was in the middle of the whole COVID thing and they weren't really being offered. So we retooled things, and we were able to get an unconditional acceptance based on an SAT score, a solid uni-attractive transcript that included really specific courses that would really support the degree she wanted to pursue. AP courses do that, but you can also do it with really tailoring what you want, especially if it's not a highly competitive degree, and allowing them to just deep dive into what they love and going that route with it. So there really is, there's lots of different ways. And especially if your student is not a big, is really struggles maybe with test anxiety and exam anxiety, and the APs are going to maybe produce a challenge for that. Consider some of the other options there as well. Choose a couple APs if you need to, and the one or two that are really going to highlight their best skills, and then round it out with top-notch courses across the board that are going to fulfill their requirements, but also show your kids in their best light. So I hope that helps, because that's how we did it for ours. Because at that point, APs were not, we could study for them, but there was no place to take them. So it would have been, you know, without cause. And so where we did that, we just had to pivot because that's the landscape we're in. And then we had to get a little bit scrappy with how to produce it in a way that they would understand in the time frame that we were applying. So I hope that helps others as well see that a solid transcript with APs or honors courses and SATs and these other, all the bells and whistles, the GPA, all the different things necessary is really helpful in helping the admissions department understand who your kid is and what they have to offer them at the university level.
And I guess some of our AP courses, of course, could be taken as a subject course to have on your high school diploma and not necessarily sit the exam, you know.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
You could take, yeah.
And they would be honours.
Sorry?
They would, as an AP course, they would be on the high school transcript as an honours course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You couldn't choose the AP designation if you didn't sit the exam. You'd have to call it honors instead because you haven't sat the exam.
But then there are universities that will accept honours courses, right, as equivalent of A levels.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
It's,
a child
unfortunately, it's not straightforward, one thing fits all.
Yeah, there's just so many different ways. And I think that's what people, as you begin looking at all the different ways, is really finding what way is going to work the best for your children and how, just amongst us here, we have the resources to help you pursue that path. If it's AP, then Helen and Jenny, they've got that nailed. If it's something different or you have questions, any of us can answer questions and point you in a direction to help you tailor it for your kids and for what's going to help them succeed, because that's what it's really all about.
It's great. I mean, it's great you guys doing what you're doing. I mean, it's just so nice to have a Christian, you know, a Christian input, you know, in all this. So it's great. It's really nice.
Would a child sit their AP after their SAT, or does that not matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, the order doesn't matter. You might do your, yeah. So when you can fit it in, really. I mean, it's kind of late as possible for the SAT, just because hopefully you've done as much maths as you can do.
Right.
But you might want to do it so you don't, you know, you probably don't want it at the same time as your AP exams. You probably would want to do it at Christmas or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is the AP? Oh, so you already said the AP's in May.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just May. They're not like GCSEs. They don't have like a November and a May. It's not like twice a year.
Does SAT have twice a year?
More times than that. It's about 5 or 6 times a year.
Has Scott, does Loretto do SAT more than once?
I think they do whenever it's offered internationally. And if it's not offered where you're close to, that's the other beautiful thing about the SAT is you can go anywhere in the world. So take that holiday to Spain and have your child sit the SAT.
Yeah.
Go to Bermuda, you know, wherever it's offered. You pay their fee, you sign up with them, and you go and you do it and make it what it'll be.
Yeah,
I was saying travel and learning.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know me well.
Yes.
There are many more SAT centres. SAT is not difficult to find an SAT centre, but the AP centre is certainly more difficult. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions, or
Yeah, we should probably call it a day unless there's a burning question still, or please get in touch with any of us, I'm sure, to
Yeah,
there's
thank
any
you
other
for coming, and
questions.
thank you for anyone listening to the recording. So
Thank you,
Yeah.
do
everybody.
get in touch.
Be part of this.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Helen.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.